Oh, good day, my YouTube family, and welcome, believers and skeptics alike. Today's episode is titled Patterson's Obsession with Big Beautiful Buxom Bigfoot. In today's video, we get the question out of the way: which came first, Bigfoot with breasts or Patterson's bosomy Bigfoot illustrations? I can tell you how far back I heard of female Bigfoot, and that was long before I ever set eyes on the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film. I was 8 years old, and Mom took me and my brothers up to a cabin for the weekend in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California, around the Lake Arrowhead area. Accompanying us was my older cousin Nancy, who was probably 20 or 21. When we were outside at night roasting marshmallows over a campfire, Nancy told us, in lieu of a ghost story, a story about a wild man that was discovered in Northern California. Except that it wasn't a man, it was a woman. My child's mind envisioned what she must have looked like, but at the time I probably didn't envision mammary glands or breasts. Back at school, probably the 3rd grade, our teacher, Miss Reynolds, a young and pretty 20-year-old from Rhode Island, told us the story and showed us a picture from one of the first magazines to publish the story in pictures. Researching, I don't remember at the time what the magazine was, but it was probably a magazine called Argosy. It was quite a buzz at the time, and in my small world I can't remember anybody doubting its authenticity. After all, it was in that part of the world, Northern California, that the last wild Indian, Ishi, emerged from the forest and joined the white man's world. Of course, I was a believer, since every adult who mentioned the wild man, woman, seemed to accept it at face value, and I had no reason to otherwise disbelieve. It was probably not until around my 40s when I took a more skeptical tact. But of everything: religion, UFOs, the supernatural, and Bigfoot. Small chinks in the Bigfoot narrative began needling me. When the question arose, was the original Bigfoot photo just a hoax of a man in a costume? I thought, why not? If that question could not be answered, then the question would have to remain. And so the question remains today, I believe. As you can see, many decades later, the "was it a man in a costume" question is one of the most addressed by believers. On YouTube, there are quite a few videos by believers that set out to debunk the man in the suit claim. In my opinion, some of these analyses do move the needle a small amount toward its authenticity. For instance, now that we have stabilized and enhanced versions, it does look pretty real. In fact, for a few years I thought that where believers saw muscle definition, to me, she looked a little lumpy in the arms and legs, owing to newspaper stuffing, and it had breasts. What cowboy of the 1960s would sacrifice his manlyhood and self-esteem, subjecting himself to ridicule by wearing a costume with flopping, pendulous breasts? I think that's a non-question. I don't like that at all. I think if you're sworn to secrecy and you're putting one over on the public, I think a cowboy back then would have a good hearty laugh with his friends about the costume he wore. I don't see that would make a difference to creating a hoax, especially if the requirement was that this be a female, and the requirement based on Patterson's own preconceptions of what a Bigfoot should look like, based on his own drawings from his own book from a year before. So of course it's going to have breasts. If it was a hoax and it was a man in a costume, Patterson would make sure that the costume resembled the illustrations in his book. That's my hypothesis. As my Bigfoot inquiry has moved in an irregular and looping line toward a better understanding, only recently have I come across some more evidence that's unfavorable to the cause. Longtime Bigfoot enthusiasts will already have known about Roger Patterson's 1966 book, Do abominable snowmen of America really exist? Yes, you heard that right. 1966, 1 year prior to the famous Bluff Creek encounter, Patterson included some interesting drawings in his book. One illustration on the left-hand side of the page features a standing Bigfoot endowed with some respectable mammary glands, very dark and looking a lot like a wooden cigar store Indian. A caption reads, "Female Sasquatch described by William Rowe," based on 1958 illustration produced by his daughter, following alleged British Columbia encounter of 1955. Besides the breasts, take note of the chin-strap facial hair. Also take note of the elongated arms drooping right down to the knee with the creature standing fully upright. Chin-strap beard, mustache, breasts, extended arms. These all look very familiar. This was a drawing. Up until 1967, supposedly, Patterson had never seen a Bigfoot. Then on October 20th, 1967, voila! Patterson not only filmed an actual Bigfoot, but its resemblance to the drawing in his book is uncanny. Now, I want to interject a rub. Believers are quick to shoot down Bob Hieronymus's claim to have been the man in the gorilla suit. For a number of reasons, and some are good, he's been called an attention-seeking con man in it for the money and fame. But these same believers seem to either not acknowledge the publicity-seeking motives of Patterson or dismiss them altogether. Such bias might make believers feel warm and fuzzy among themselves, but outside of their silo, this gives the appearance of unscientific bias. On the same page of his book, Patterson drew another sketch of a hunter aiming his rifle at a Sasquatch. The caption reads, "Patterson's illustration of Rowe's encounter, published 1966, itself copied from 1961 illustration by Morton Kunstler." And below that illustration is a still shot, frame 352, of the creature. Note that the sketched Bigfoot, with its long stride and swinging arms, has large pendulous breasts. Believers will dismiss the idea that Patterson modeled a created Bigfoot from the drawings and the concept of a female Bigfoot. I'm not so sure. The coincidence of Patterson filming a female Bigfoot that looks so eerily similar to the drawings in his own book, compounded with several other coincidences leading up to and following the publication of his film. For as much as I would like to accept that the PG Bigfoot is real, and it's just amazing coincidence that, one, Patterson chose Bluff Creek based on the Ray Wallace footprint castings of 1958, which were later debunked by Wallace's own children long after Patterson had died, and two, Patterson's Bigfoot looks so remarkably like the illustrations in his own book. I find this hard to swallow without a lot of healthy skepticism. Let me know in the comments why these are only coincidences that don't necessarily mean Bigfoot is a hoax, or why my skepticism and questions on this subject are reasonable and valid. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We'll have some more questions coming up in another video soon.